Alrighty, today we have another set of solar lights. This is an 8-pack of solar lights. There's a lot to like about these solar lights, but there is one fatal flaw that might ruin them. So I'm hoping the manufacturer can fix them over time. We'll see, or maybe it's not a problem. Maybe there's been improvements, I'm not sure. But here is your solar light. Plastic, metal, plastic, metal. And that is actually glass. So the top here is metal, which is nice. The shaft is metal. Doesn't really matter. That's plastic. And this fancy part here is plastic. But the actual bell is glass. So I'm going to pop this off. Give you a closer look at this. So as with most of them, this is the body, but this is the main body that contains everything that makes it run. So that is actually glass. And that's pretty nice. Little reflector on there to make the light a little more efficient. Here is the unit. This is what does all the work. There's your light. It is a warm white. It's a golden white color. And the good news is it is a user replaceable battery. So you give that a little pop right there, and that opens up. And inside here is a 14500 lithium cell, but this is a lithium iron phosphate cell, which means in theory you could get 8 to 10 years out of this. That's pretty cool. So if you do, well, at least 5 years, 2,000 cycles, depending on how much excess capacity it has, you could get 7, 8, 9 years out of it. Maybe longer, depends. Lithium iron phosphate batteries last significantly longer than lithium ion, although we haven't really tested that in real world applications yet because they're brand new. But still, I would much rather have a lithium iron phosphate battery than to have a lithium ion battery, and the fact that I can just literally pop that open in seconds and replace that battery is fantastic. No desoldering, no wires, no plugs, just a naked cell. You drop a new one in there when this one becomes not usable anymore, and you're good to go. So here is the fatal flaw, the solar panel. As you can see, you see how it's got that little bit of a wavy pattern to it? That's not glass. That is epoxy resin filled. So they basically put the solar panel in here and fill it with epoxy. And that seals it up completely. But most resins yellow under UV abuse. So in the sunlight, which is what this operates on, the resins don't tend to be UV stable. They yellow and turn opaque over time. And as they turn opaque, less sunlight gets through to the solar panel, becomes less and less effective until it doesn't get enough charge. Now, for a short time, you can polish it. You can take a like a microfiber cloth and some toothpaste, and you could rub that until it's clear again. Rub all the haze off. But over time, you're going to rub through until you get to the solar panel, and at which point you will destroy it. How long that takes depends on how thick and how much you take off each time you polish it. Or maybe they've improved the resins. Maybe this resin's more UV stable, but that is a concern of mine. Usually the resins are not stable over time. I will be sure to report back. If somebody can poke me in a year, I'll take a look at these and see how much they yellow after a year. If there's no visible yellowing after a year, then you probably get several years out of them. Especially since I'm and the time I get here is about 2 or 3 times the time what most people get, because I live in New Mexico, so the sunlight is brutal. And even in the wintertime, the sunlight is crazy because I'm at 7,000 feet and I'm at a southern latitude. So we get great sunlight for solar, but things that degrade in UV fast here. So if that's still clear after 9 months to a year, it's probably okay. I will be sure to remember to report back. Beyond that, solar panel, and you're gonna get dinged a star for that, because that should be PET covered or glass covered. I mean, especially a nice set like this, 8-piece set using metal and glass. Is that metal? Yeah, that's metal. Don't cheap out and use an epoxy resin filled panel. Use a proper PET covered panel or a proper glass covered panel. Use a panel that's going to last, because these are not disposable because you can change the battery, but they are disposable if that panel goes bad and they can no longer charge the battery. So I prefer products that will last the test of time. Beyond that, we're going to, normally you'd get 2 or 3 with an epoxy resin panel, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, and we will see how well the panel holds up over time. Maybe they're using a more UV stable resin now. I don't know. Maybe it's just the real cheap ones that have that problem. I don't know. You got to wait a year to find out. There's no way to know in advance. You got to put it out in the sun and wait a year and see if it starts yellowing. And if it stays clear, you're probably good. We shall see. But either way, as long as it's thick enough, you'll get your 8 to 10 years out of it, which means you should get the lifespan of that battery out of it. And we'll see from there. But metal, plastic, and glass. I like the glass. That's nice. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter that much since, I mean, who's going to pick one up to realize it's even glass? But it is nice for it to be glass. It also makes it more resistant to being pushed over by wind because it's got more mass. So it doesn't just blow over as easily. And I also like the nice little spike on there too. These some square profile spikes that they use with the holes in it. They tend to stay put better. I've seen, the soil contraction actually push spikes out of the ground until they fall over on their own because they got pushed up by the roots in the soil. These tend to be a bit more stable. They're also quite a bit thicker, so they can handle being pushed into the dirt. I do still advise people to small drill. Like this year, I would use like a 1/2-inch drill bit and just a little hole in the ground first, then shove that in so it goes all the way in. And then the soil, when it compacts, will grip and hold on to that a lot better. But in general, not bad. It's a pretty good setup. I would like to see that panel replaced with either PET cover or glass cover. Something that's going to be UV stable over time.